Hey everyone! Today we're going to be talking about all the stuff that we've achieved this year, me and Helevorn, on Tapas as well as on this podcast. But before we begin, it turns out that Sam has sent Ingvar a postcard.
Oh, yes, exactly. And this is the postcard, but what is more interesting is what is written inside. It is written in Sam's own voice or own pen and addressed to Mr. Ingvar Eindride. Dear Mr. Eindride, my name is Sam Abramov, and I'm a social media um, blogger, YouTuber, writer, and film director. I'm writing to you because I'm thoroughly impressed by your website. I really want to work for your company and want to help spread word about what your company has to offer. With 5 years of experience, I started blogging and writing right after high school. I will be able to give your company the exposure it deserves. There is so much to work on. I can write blogs using SEO friendly keywords, name ideas, and direct advertisements and films to expose your products to a wider audience. I'm fluent in English, Yiddish, which is similar, if not identical, to Swiss German and Russian. So I know what different audiences need. You can reach me at contact at samabramov.com. Looking forward to meeting in person after COVID dies down. Be- all right. Thanks for your consideration, Sam Abramov. Yes, I was so impressed to read something written by Sam himself. And of course, Ingvar has a company. He's into fish farming and he has this large company. And of course, he needs people to take care of public relations for him. And of course, Sam is there to take advantage of this. And he really knows how to sell his skills, doesn't he?
Of course. I mean, this is what he is an expert in. And as we will see, if you guys unlock the 100,000 ink milestone on Tapas this year, I mean, in 2021, you guys will see a new series called Sam's Guide to Cold Calling, which is all about this.
Exactly. We really want to know what Sam did to be able to have this boldness to describe himself in these terms, to sell his skills like that.
So is Ingvar impressed?
Well, yes, I think he is. I think he is because he definitely recognizes that Sam has exactly the skills that he would need in the languages that he speaks and knowing the public and dealing with social media because this is something that Ingvar himself doesn't excel in. He has no social media accounts. He hates what social media stands for. So yes, he definitely needs an expert in the field. So yes, Sam can be that expert.
Yeah, Sam sensed that Ingvar was someone who doesn't even have a LinkedIn. And if he does, I think Eyolf made it for him. And it's really basic. There's like one line or something.
Oh yes,
CEO of whatever. That's all.
exactly. And he really hates the idea of putting pictures of himself anywhere. So he doesn't want to be in group photos and anything. So if they go to a holiday, him and Eyolf, well, he just takes pictures of Eyolf and he'll just, oh my God, you want another photo? Okay, just stand there and like after 1 second he presses the button and then he's so sick of it and yeah, he really doesn't understand the point of these things. So yeah, he needs someone that does.
Yes. So today we're going to be talking about all of the milestones that we've already achieved on Tapas and on this podcast. For you this year, you finished Lucky Wolf and started Tales of the North.
Yes, exactly. I finished posting Lucky Wolf on Tapas, and I was amazingly pleased to see the feedback that I received. As of this moment, I don't have a lot of followers, but those that are have amazing insight, and I really, really appreciate all the feedback they have given me. So for each chapter, I have like little essays talking about the themes in that chapter and the characters. And it is invaluable to see your readers' thoughts while they read what you are writing. And this is something that only publishing online can bring, isn't it? Because if I were to publish this novel in a physical format, I wouldn't be able to discuss to every reader that I have. So
Mm-hmm.
having discovered tapas was a great thing for me, and it has really kept me motivated. Because yes, I had been posting online for quite a few years, and I used to post on DeviantArt before that. But Tapas is a website dedicated to writing. So this has helped me come into contact with people with similar interests. Because in DeviantArt, well, of course, being someone who also does art, well, I think that I had come to a point where most of my followers were interested in the art and not so much in the written stuff. So I wanted to go somewhere specialized in writing. And well, yeah, this was Tapas. So I think it was a success. The fact that I managed to finish Lucky Wolf and post it. I had finished it back in 2019, but then what another thing that tapas and posting online chapter by chapter has brought was that as I was scheduling the chapters, I was also reviewing them with different eyes, I can say, because I was more self-aware knowing that I'm going to publish it than I was when I was actually writing it. So this is another thing that online publishing brings, which I think is invaluable to a writer.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think this interaction with different people and having different people comment and stuff really thinks makes you think about what you want to change or edit in future editions or, future episodes of your work.
Exactly, exactly. Because while it is not advisable to take into account or to try to anticipate uh, everything people might think and model what you're writing after their expectations, because you have to surprise your readers. You cannot always give them exactly what they expect, right? But at the same time, it is important to sort of see it with their eyes, with the eyes of someone more objective who doesn't know what you want to say, and to figure out if you are taking your points across successfully. Um, yeah, yes. I was concentrated on the phrasal verb if I use that correctly, but I think I managed to get, sorry, not take, yeah, get the points across. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yes, true. And this is what is one of the good things about the interaction with your readers.
Exactly. Yeah. And on DeviantArt, unfortunately, I think it's become more and more empty over the last couple of years. So even though before, let's say like 5 or 6 years ago, there were some comments on writing at least, now there's like none, right?
Yes, I know, and also I don't know, maybe it's just me, but uh, some quality overall had. I'm not saying that it has dropped, because there were still a lot of fantastic artists, but there were, well, some things that I wasn't very fond of. So yeah, I moved to tapas where people have interests more similar to mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Tapas people are also more sociable in a way. I think on DeviantArt, they just mostly just fave and they don't say anything.
Yeah, that is correct. That is true. Yes.
Yeah. And Instagram is also more sociable, I think. But a lot of people, even though they don't really comment, they really react to your stories. And, there's a lot of reels and stuff. So it feels more busy, while DeviantArt seems like a ghost town now.
Yeah, that is true. That is true, unfortunately, because there were some awesome things there as well, and I met fantastic people on DeviantArt, so it has a special place in my heart. But at the same time, I mostly left it. I'm trying to come back for OC training and enroll one of the characters from Outlaws, but I hope that I can keep that up because yes, I'm mostly using Instagram and Tapas right now.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, this is my opinion and our opinion because I've heard different opinions as well of people who didn't relate to the kind of atmosphere on Instagram, for example, and prefer deviant art. So yeah, of course, there are
Mm-hmm.
advantages and disadvantages of everything.
Definitely. Yeah. And so the Outlaws character you're planning to enroll, who is it?
I think it will be Elisar, the priest.
Oh, so is that the picture we saw today in your Instagram story? Will you use that for the Guess Who
Well,
picture?
yes, yes, I think so. Yes, this is what I'm planning to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting because there hasn't been any Romanian character on OC training. So this will be more out of the ordinary, I think. And at the same time, it is a character that needs more developing, I think, in the story, and it will help me focus on the story more than I have in the past weeks and hopefully help me finish it. It's kind of weird because it hasn't always had the results I was planning because with Valdez, I enrolled her and I couldn't really keep up. And I did most of the tasks and then I mostly gave up. And then I came back to her character and to her story only recently. And um, because I was brainstorming about outlaws when I should have been focusing on Valdez's story, and now I'm afraid that it might be the other way around. I'm enrolling an outlaws character, but I'm writing Valdez's story.
Mm. Yeah, sometimes it works that way. Inspiration strikes in different ways.
I know exactly, exactly, and I don't know what it is like for other writers, but I have actually pushed myself this year to work on two different stories that have different moods, different vibes, different tones. Because I wanted, instead of pressuring myself to work on something, I wanted to keep my options more open, so that, of course, I want to release something new to finish and publish something new this year, but at the same time, I wanted my options to be open and just write whatever I felt like writing. Because in the past, I used to just focus on one thing, on one story, on one universe, so to speak. These stories
Hmm.
are so different that I think it brings good variation. And I will be writing, whether it is this story or the other one, or the modern AU with Ingvar and Hale, because I also have that one as well, which I haven't talked about. So yes, I think it was because this year, well, half of it, I was very busy with finishing my PhD paper, and so I really wanted to come back to writing in full force, and this brought about the change, I think. And I said, okay, now I finished my PhD. I want to really be free and go crazy with the writing and start different things. I'm not sure if it's a good idea, but I'm really enjoying myself. And I was always the kind of writer who was sort of obsessed with one thing and was uh, very little self-indulgent. So now I wanted to be more self-indulgent.
I see. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I think me. this year I also started working harder later this year. I mean, from January to April, I didn't really do anything. And then starting in May, I started working on Finding Sam, which was my first ever finished comic that lasted more than 10 pages.
Exactly. So this is one thing that you started and also completed this year, which was Finding Sam. And could you tell us more about it?
It's basically just a glimpse into the world of Sam and his parents and his friends and everyone else. And I think it was a good preview, but Sam in New York is much more inclusive and it's much more longer too. So you're going to see a lot of things in Sam in New York that you don't get to see in Finding Sam. I mean, already in the first few chapters that we've seen, well, only the first and second would have been released so far. But like I've been working on chapter 3 as well for Sam in New York. And already we see so much about the setting, Lower East Side, that we didn't see in Finding Sam.
Exactly. So Finding Sam is more of a teaser because we know we find out about Sam, about his wishes, and about some of his struggles. But although it is a profound story, it only shows a small part, just a glimpse of Sam's existence. And in Sam in New York, we see so much more and so many more characters and the setting, indeed, which is so interesting and out of the ordinary. And this is one of the things that we have seen so far in the few chapters that you have posted.
Exactly. And another thing that I didn't get to explore in Finding Sam was Sam's personality in more depth. I mean, we see that he is a depressed person who used to be happier, but that's just the basic thing. I mean, in Sam in New York, we don't really see that depressed side because we're starting from when he's a baby. So we're going to see how he develops in different ways and throughout his life in Sam in New York. And rather than just focusing him in a one specific situation where he feels bad and he doesn't really feel like himself per se. Because in Finding Sam, I don't think he really feels like himself.
That's true. That's true. He is in a low point in his life, so the tone is also different than the one in Sam in New York.
Because Sam in New York has all kinds of moods.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. So next year we're going to see more of this.
We are, yes, definitely. My buffer already as of December 28th, 2020 is up to the first week of May. So before I start work in January, I wish to push it to maybe July or June. So like basically it will be like half the year's already set up for the queue.
This is so impressive. I honestly admire all the work that you did this year and in the past a couple of months because it is wonderful how you managed uh, to make so much progress with this story and with the characters. So you've developed the characters so much and also managed to do so much writing and so much art.
I
You are
think it's
very
all
productive this autumn and winter.
I think it's because of the quarantine, and because I thought it was going to end. I thought like this crap, this COVID thing was going to end in July or something, and then it just stretched. I'm like, okay, I guess I have to work in Sam, New York now. There's no excuse now.
Yes, exactly. So, well, this was one advantage of the lockdown, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Because otherwise, if this was a normal year, I think I would not have started any Sam New York stuff. I would just do my usual thing, like in the past, of drawing a picture and then posting it with a description on Instagram. And that's the extent of my my series.
Yeah, that is right. That is right. So, well, and and also another thing that we started probably because of the pandemic was the podcast, wasn't it? I'm not
Yes.
sure if we would have done it and really kept up to episodes. I mean, you kept up to episodes a week, at least, uh, were it not for the lockdown.
That's true. It's because I'm not talking to enough people. So I'm like, I need the podcast to get my fill of talking every week.
Yes, yes, that is very correct. Yes, indeed.
And it's interesting to finally talk so much and actually have it recorded about our characters. Because before it was mostly just thoughts, right?
That's true. That's true. It's so awesome to be able to talk about your characters with people and with your readers, basically, and fellow writers, and talk about them as if they were real people. And that is true. I wasn't really doing that before that. I mean, I only have a couple of people who have read my stuff and that I can talk to, but this really brought a change, and now I really find it easy to talk about my characters and say their names out loud and everything. And again, if I had published my story, for example, Lucky Wolf, in a physical format, I would probably not be doing this.
I think nowadays people publish both online and offline. So it could be like a good mix of people who read it.
Yeah, that is true. But at the same time, if you publish in a literary magazine, you don't get to talk to your
Oh,
readers.
that's true. And also, I think literary magazines, like, they're very limited sometimes because they have this agreement where they're like, oh, you can't post this, for a year until it's been published. So you have to wait a
Yeah,
year until you can put it on your website. And it's just like, oh, and then by that time, you kind of already kind of forgot about the story because it was such a long time ago when you wrote it.
yeah, that's true. And you're not so immersed in it any longer. But if you post it on these kinds of websites where you post serialized things and get to talk to your readers, it is much more immersive, right? And you write something and then you post it right away and you get immediate reaction. And that's
Hmm. And a lot of the literary magazines, like I looked at their Instagrams, they only have like 50 followers. So it makes me wonder how many people actually follow and read their stuff.
Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. And well, there are a lot of writers who don't want to publish on these kind of websites, like Tapas, for instance, because they feel their work would sort of be trivialized. But
Oh, that's
I
true. Yeah.
obviously don't agree because you have so many advantages, like the ones that we have discussed, things
Mhm.
that would be lost if you only published in a literary magazine.
Mhm. And a lot of the literary magazines are like limited edition, so they only have, 40 for this year or something for sale. So how many
Yeah,
people are actually going to read it? Or like it's on someone's Patreon and you have to pay $5 a month to access it.
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think Tapas has really helped both of us to, kind of be more motivated as we talked about in the preview, and also to expand our audience and talk to more people about what we want to achieve with our characters and themes.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm glad that this year I discovered it.
Hmm. How did you discover it? Was it through a Kitku? Because I think she was the first one in like our group of friends on Instagram and
Yeah,
such that she posted her comic on Tapas, right? And then I think that's how we discovered it.
yeah, that's true. That's true. It was her, and then it was you, and so I really decided that I needed to take this step because I wasn't very pleased how DeviantArt was going at the time. So I wanted to publish my writing here as well. And then a lot of the artists that I was following on DeviantArt s- pretty much stopped posting there. So
Hmm.
I need to do something as well. So I'm really glad that I started to post in Tapas instead.
Hmm. And there's also a site that, I've been recently invited to that's beta. It's called the ninth dot art. And I don't know if they have novels or anything, but they might set it up. So you could check that out as well. Because they're basically thinking of starting to print out their stuff next year. So if you want your stuff to be printed out in a periodical, maybe you can try posting on there.
Okay, that's great. So what kind of stuff is it? Comics?
Mostly comics, yeah, because they're mostly like comic geeks types. Like a lot of them are into action, but they're all into all kinds of genres. Most of them I see mostly action and like, psychological and stuff like that. But I don't think I've seen novels yet, but they do have a section called light novels, but they don't have anything there yet. So I'll ask them about it, or you can
Mhm.
ask them about it, because I'm not really sure if they have like checked off every function of the website yet. Some of the stuff is still in development, so maybe that's why we can't see it.
Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah, I really need to check it out. It's a
Hmm.
good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I have to see what it is about.
Yeah, I'll send the link to you afterwards. They're on Instagram very often, and they often do shout outs for people who joined their website. So if you make, for example, you upload your Tales of the North up there, they will probably give you a shout out.
Okay, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
So
Yeah.
yeah, this podcast, we've achieved a lot since August. We haven't even done it for a whole year yet.
Oh yes, I know. I know. And I remember when we were starting to brainstorm about it. Honestly, it was you. You had so much energy and so many ideas, and I wasn't very I was kind of reluctant to start because there's this impression that, oh, what am I going to talk about for an entire hour, but then once you started doing it with Day Day, I thought, okay, I can do that. That looks really fun. So, so yes, and I saw a lot of people who say, oh, I'm kind of uh, shy, and I don't know if I have that much to say. Yeah, I used to be like that as well, but then very quickly I realized that there's really no problem once you get uh, swept up into it. It's so easy,
Yeah.
so
Like
fun.
as for me and Tete, we've been doing these kind of things periodically since 2016. We just never recorded it. And it often went off topic and went into weird off topic discussions that were not related to our characters. Oh, but I think we actually talked like for 5 hours once. I'm serious, at the
Oh,
airport, as I was like waiting for the airplane to come, and I just started talking to her. Everyone was staring at me, but we were like talking about our characters, and then we started talking about themes and stories, and it was just like so crazy. But yeah, we will. That was where I got the idea of actually recording it, because I was like, Maeve was saying that she liked listening to some of her recordings on Instagram Live, because we did do some of them earlier this year,
mm,
and she's like,
mm.
wow, that's really interesting, I really like listening to you guys. So I'm like, hey, let's try to do a podcast based on that. It's just basically the stuff we talk about, but not off topic.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. This is wonderful, and I'm really glad that we got into this. And thank you for inviting me again. It was one of the most fun achievements of this year.
Yes, definitely. And next year, we're also thinking of adding some stuff to the podcast, such as, short courses. And I think some of them will be free, but maybe some of the more like longer ones could be on Patreon or something. What do you think?
Yes, yes, I think that is a good idea because when we first discussed about starting a podcast back during the summer, we were mostly thinking, I mean, at least I was imagining it more as a sort of a course, but that was quite difficult to set up considering that well we hadn't really I mean I hadn't really taken part in discussions of this sort before, so there was so much to organize. But now that we have amassed so many hours of talking about writing techniques and thought processes and types of characters and tropes and everything, now we have a lot of material that we can really put into words, into this form of courses. And what's also interesting is that we got to talk with other writers, which is wonderful because, well, not everybody has the same techniques and processes. So we got to brainstorm and find out more. And yes, sure, this is one of the things that I really want to achieve next year.
Mm.
These courses.
Mm-hmm. I think we're gonna probably make them on PowerPoint or something, and then just do like, because we can do the screen share thing on Zoom, and then we can just talk as the slides progress.
Exactly, exactly. So writing and voiceover, but they will be more organized, and more to the point, and more theoretical than we have done them during our podcast, and also less focused on our characters and more on I don't know, famous writings, for example, with actual examples. So
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
yes, this is the thing that will bring new to
Mm-hmm.
to the process of the courses.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about stuff, for example, like Crime and Punishment, um, Maurice, which influenced your work.
Yes,
Yeah, Umberto Eco, because we talked about him as well. And I guess like some other works like Lord of the Rings, the popular ones that a lot of people know about. We could break down some of the influences of that on our work, as well as, the themes that these works cover in general, like just in a literary sense, kind of like a
exactly.
lesson.
So exactly. Yes, yes, yes. So these book reviews series that as we can call it, this is another idea that I'm very fond of because of course I think we all love talking about the books, the pieces of fiction that have influenced us, and we can limit ourselves not only to books but with other types of fiction that have influenced us, right? Because I've taken a lot of inspiration in TV series, especially in terms of creating characters. So with
Hmm.
different themes, yes, I have found inspiration in terms of themes from novels, but in terms of creating characters, I think that the the pieces of fiction that inspired me the most were TV series and films. So this is one of the genres that uh, because well as a technique, writing and films, they are quite different. But in terms of characters and realistic world building, of course we can. Well, it is pretty much the same thing. So we can talk about that as well. And for me, music was a great inspiration as well. And uh, I would not have done it without many of my favorite bands. And well, yeah, we can talk about this in more detail, but there are bands that I actually treat as poetry. So their music to me is like poetry. It's not so much the sound, but it is the themes and the lyrics. And they have
Hmm.
greatly influenced me. And yeah, I think to such an extent that when I talk about, for example, Cradle of Filth, it will be amazing how much it reflects in the way I write relationships, especially in the Vili and Valdez story and Ranveig and Aiden, for example. It is it is somehow embedded in the way I see certain things because I have been listening to them for so long, and they have always inspired me ever since I was a teenager. And I was writing poetry, gothic-ish poetry when I was like, I don't know, 14, and yeah, then this is one other type of fiction that can represent inspiration.
That's true. Yeah, maybe we can do an album review or something,
Oh
like of
yeah.
Cradle of Filth or any other, like Arcona or any other bands you listen to.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I would love it. I would love it. I'm actually one of my plans for this year, which is more, I don't know. It's not fiction. It's more scientific research. But I'm going to work on a book about metal music, and I'm going
Oh.
to publish it. Yeah, with three other writers. and it will be in Romanian. But yes, I'm finally going to actually write, do scientific research on metal music, which is so exciting.
It is. Wow. Oh my gosh. And it's going to be like printed out, right? Or is
Oh
it
yeah,
online? Okay.
yeah,
Awesome.
print it out. Oh, we are going to publish it, so I'm really excited about this.
Congratulations. It sounds so amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I haven't really started working on it. I only have an essay about Cradle of Filth, which is like 15 pages long. But I feel like I could have written my PhD on Cradle of Filth, no problem. That's okay. They're so rich in terms of themes and style. Yeah. What
Hmm.
about you? What do you think are the pieces of fiction, or what type of fiction has influenced you?
Hmm. I think a lot of fiction that I read back in 2015 or during university, such as, like I said before, the Philip Roth books, but without some of the themes in it that I don't really like. You know, I don't think he's really misogynistic, but I can see why people think he is, especially in how he portrays women and especially the roles that women always end up playing in his works, which I don't like. And I mean, every time there's a sex scene, it always feels like the woman's an object. You know, a lot of these older male authors always do that, and I don't like it. I'm not a fan of that.
Yes, I can see. I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, we need to discuss Philip Roth in one of those book review sessions.
But what I
One
like, yeah, but what I like about Philip Roth is that he has a very strong grasp of language, humor. His humor is really on point, especially with books like Portnoy's Complaint, which is a very long stream of consciousness about this guy with a lot of problems, ranting about his parents all the way to his failed relationships, to his psychiatrist. The whole book is a rant to his psychiatrist, which made it really funny.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, well, I'd love to hear you talk about this in more detail, and to see how it has influenced you, because your work also has some very interesting and humorous and really fun to read pieces of stream of consciousness.
Yes, I think that's one of the reasons why I like stream of consciousness because it's very easy to write humor into it. Whereas if you write like, you know, in traditional third omniscient, which is a lot of what writers do, especially in fiction, I find it's harder to put in like harder to put in humor because it's from the perspective of you don't know who it is. It's just someone like zooming in onto this group of people. How do you portray humor that's not, you know, slapstick or physical?
Exactly, exactly, and showing this is one thing that really makes the difference between writing and other types of fiction, like films, for example, because
Hmm.
you cannot show the character's thoughts in any other type of medium as you can do in writing, and that's true. I love reading it and I love writing it.
Hmm. Yeah. Another thing that really influenced me isn't so much fiction, but my own personal experiences and a lot of conversations I've had with people for a very long time, you know, for many years in my childhood, in my teens, and now in my 20s. Like a lot of the stuff that I write about is based on these stories of people that I know of or I personally know. And I'm not like no saying, oh yeah, I know this person in real life and I just turned him into a fictional version and this is Sam or whatever, right? I'm not saying that because there are a lot of changes I made because most of these people, I mean, most of these characters are amalgamations of like at least 10 different stories, not just one person from real life copy and pasted into there.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Especially a lot of the humor too. A lot of it is based on stuff that I remember people saying or I said, especially in high school. So I hope that it feels authentic because I feel like a lot of the times when people, especially adults, write teens, they either make them too adult like or they make them too censored. Like they're so like squeaky clean, goody two shoe types.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Like I think J.K. Rowling kind of did that. Like I didn't really see any rowdiness in especially the male characters like that were teens. Like I would like to see that more, but I think a lot of especially older female writers they usually just skimp over that.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is one of the things that you wanted to portray more in your own fiction.
exactly.
Mm. Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. Personal experience does play a great role, of course, in the writings of all of us, and and also the other way around. I think. I mean, portraying certain characters that are very different from myself, I managed to detach myself from myself so much and try to see to really understand different points of view. It got me to interact with different kinds of people, read things from, I don't know, on forums and things like that, and really try to understand their perspectives. And it has also broadened my own views. So I think it works the other way around as well. Yes.
Hmm.
Uh, Especially with characters like Aolf and Murgu from the Outlaws story, I had to look around me very much because, of course, I had characters that I, as an author, have more in common with, like Aiden. But of course, if we were to make characters that are a lot like ourselves, our writings would be so boring, so repetitive. So so yeah, paradoxically, in creating Aolf, I managed to make someone who's very different from myself, but at the same time, I got so immersed in his perspective that now I can very easily write him. And I've
Hmm.
even been told that I have things in common with him, or even though I still do not see them, I think that we are almost opposites. But this means that I've been doing it okay, you know?
Yeah, wow, that's really cool though. It's like that someone said that Aolf was a lot like you.
Yes, yes, I know. Yeah, I really don't. I still don't agree with it. I don't see the similarity. But yes,
Yeah, I
he's my
think
husband actually, so he should know. But
oh, that's funny.
yeah, I know. I know it's really yeah. So exactly, fiction influences us as well.
I think fiction is a way of seeing our own selves or people around us reflected in different ways.
Exactly, and in the research that we do, we really get to see personalities very different from our own and experiences that we have not gone through ourselves.
Definitely. Or kind of like a hypothetical. What would happen if this had happened instead in our lives as a parallel to what's
Mhm.
happening in the
Yes,
story? Yeah.
yes, exactly, exactly.
hmm
Yes.
I think for me, interestingly enough, I see an aspect of myself in all of my characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I think that in a way we are our characters in I mean we put little things from our own personality and experiences in our character. That is true. I mean, I even in Aolf, I do see certain similarities, but very, very few compared to most of my other characters. So, yeah, I think it is the least that I identify with again, but still, yes, yes, that there is something of us in all of our characters. Uh,
Yeah.
which one of yours do you think you identify with most?
I
Is
think
it
it's pretty
Sam?
obvious. Yes.
Yes.
I think nearly 90% of him is based on myself and how I see certain aspects of my life.
Yeah, this is interesting because it is not apparent in your writing, and I think that this is very important. So as not to really make a fictional alter ego of yourself, and that is the most complex character, and the rest of the characters are just foil to that one. Because I think this is something that beginners often do, right? Just create themselves in fiction, and I mean, the rest of the characters don't really matter, or they are just the kind of things that we want, the kind of people that we want or really dislike in our lives, like the protagonist love interest is just this perfect person that we would
Hmm.
like to meet.
Yeah,
The enemy is our enemy, but this is something that of course shouldn't be apparent, and definitely in your writings, or the readers would not immediately think, oh yeah, this is the author. It's definitely not obvious that you identify with him so much, because the perspective of the other characters is complexly rendered, and their personalities are well developed and well rounded. So yeah, we, if you had not shared this information, I don't think we would have realized.
yeah, I think only Tete knows because she knows about how he developed from pretty much a joke in 2016 to a much more
Yeah.
complex character. And it's because of the influence of myself on Sam. Before, he was basically mostly like a joke character.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I do remember those times. And I was so surprised to see that he has come such a long way, and that he has become so much more serious right now, and so complex, and there are so different sides of him and of his experiences.
Definitely. I think the person I least identify with in Sam in New York is probably the dean.
Yeah, I know. I can tell.
I hope he's not like, the villain or anything, because I don't think I'm trying to do that to him. But from Sam's perspective, he would be somewhat of a villain.
Yes, yes, that is true. That is true. No, I don't really, well, he's not really a villain, but then it is not the kind of story that really has a villain. So, but yes, if we were to choose someone, maybe it would be the Dean, because it is an antagonist of Sam. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe the second person I least identify with is probably Tom.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's because he's from like a small isolated town, and also like he's really athletic, which I'm not.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about his athletic dimension. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I would not have realized that Tom is the one you identify with the least.
And he's like really naive, and I don't think I'm like that. Like he's he's kind of just like one of those people who haven't seen a lot of the world, and he doesn't really think a lot about the nastier side of people.
Yeah, he's so sweet and pure.
I
Yeah,
think
as a
too much about the
writer,
nasty side of people.
that's true. As a writer, I think that you cannot afford to be a Tom, because what are you going to write about if you don't want to think about the the less visible side of things, and the
Or
less useful
Hakon,
side of
right?
things?
Hakon's kind of like that, right? So
Oh
he
yeah,
can't be
that's
a
true.
writer.
Yeah, no, definitely. He really lacks the insight. Yeah, he cannot be a writer. I mean, well, yeah, I think a lot of my characters cannot be writers. I don't imagine Aelf being a writer as well, even though he does understand some things, but I don't imagine him sitting and writing. I mean, the very process of it, he would not have the patience to do that.
Only Aiden and Ingvar, right? For the most part.
Yeah, and Merwin.
Oh, right. Yeah, she's a poetess. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the three of them, but the rest, yeah, I think that they are more energetic and more outgoing, and they cannot do this. Well, of course, not all writers are introverts, definitely. So it's not really the fact that they are going, but maybe they are more, I don't know, dynamic.
I
And
think it's more like they prefer doing stuff with their hands rather than
yeah,
thinking. Yeah. Like,
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
like passively sitting here and writing something down, right? Based on your
Yeah,
thoughts. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it is such a long process. So you have to be prepared to just sit down in front of a computer for hours and hours and days on end. And not many people can do that. This is why the pandemic has been so difficult on other people. But on writers, it hasn't. I mean, on me, it was just I love it. I mean, obviously, I don't love the pandemic itself, but I have been able to spend my time as I would like to spend it.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of time now and less stress to, oh, you have to be out there, right? Because, like, that's what society expects of you.
Yes, exactly. And there used to be a lot of stuff to do that I found distracting. I'm the type of writer who, oh, most of the times I cannot write if I'm distracted. Sure, sometimes I can have this idea that strikes like lightning and I can just stop whatever I'm doing. I'm having a little break at work and I take out my phone or my pen and I'm writing this down. Sometimes it happens, but most of the times I need to have time and quiet and just sit down and think. So
Hmm.
the pandemic has definitely brought the opportunity to sit down and think.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, even when there's music, I can't really write anything. I have to turn the music off.
Oh yeah, that's right. It happens to me as well. I can listen to, for example, movie soundtracks or game soundtracks, and so instrumental stuff. Yeah, I like writing with instrumental or ambience sounds, but because it blocks other sounds. But music with lyrics, no.
Hmm.
Now or maybe I can just listen to something before to get into a certain mood that inspires me and then get to writing, but I have to pause the music.
Hmm. Hmm. I think for drawing, music of any type of music can work though, for me.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've never really talked about this, but I find it interesting to find out how other writers and artists do their stuff. What do they do while drawing? I was always curious about this. I also listen to audiobooks sometimes and podcasts or things like that, and to music as well.
Hmm. Oh, and I sometimes talk to people.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
sometimes talk to people when I'm drawing, but like on Discord, like so no video, I'm just talking and then I'm drawing.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do that as well. Talking on the phone and I'm drawing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's easy to do, but I can't talk while writing. I don't think I've ever tried that.
No, definitely. I, I'm not sure there are people who can. I mean, I don't know, maybe.
I can type stuff that's not like literary or fictional. Like I
Mhm.
can do stuff like notes for like an assignment or like some research thing. I can do that, but anything creative, I need to shut it off.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you have to be in a sort of a trance to really be immersed in the world from the story, because if the world around you is so much louder than the story, then how are you going to get immersed?
Oh, how about airplane flights? You know, especially when you're flying internationally to places that are like 15 hours away. Do you write or do you watch movies or do you sleep?
I draw. I like drawing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what I do, but yeah, not so much writing. I don't think I have written anything while traveling. Um Maybe, yeah, but I mostly draw, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I do a mix of things, and then sometimes I'm just like I'm so tired that I just. But it's like this weird like weird mode where I'm like half asleep but like half not asleep. And then I'm just like, what am I doing? And there's like 5 more hours left until I arrive.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I that really doesn't stimulate my creativity. It really dulls me, those kind of long journeys. So, if I'm, for example, commuting to work or something, and I have like half an hour or 1 hour, then yeah, I still have the energy to write. And I have been writing on the bus, for example, when I was working in a different town. But on long flights, for example, no, maybe in the first hour, then I get so, I don't know, asleep or something, and only drawing can keep me awake.
It's also hard to draw when everyone around you is asleep or they want you to sleep. You can tell when they turn off the light. So then you
Oh yeah,
can't really draw, right?
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be on trains a lot a few years ago, and yeah, I would draw. So that's good. That's a good way to spend the time.
I think on trains it's definitely easier. But unfortunately, if it's like, one of those flights that last half a day, then people
Yeah.
probably will have to sleep and then it's just hard to coordinate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, some people also get motion sickness. For example, in a car, I also get it unless I'm the one who's driving. But I cannot do anything in a car. So if I'm driving or someone else is driving for hours and hours, it's so terrible because I cannot read, I cannot write, I
Mhm.
cannot even look on my phone because I get motion sickness. But fortunately,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Mhm.
happen to me on a train or on a plane. It's just a car and the bus sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's because the bus and the car doesn't move fast enough, but for a plane and the train, they
Yeah,
move fast enough that our eyes can adjust to it. So it
yeah,
feels like we're not moving almost.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true about cars. I think I have the same thing because I haven't really been on a really long car trip for a very long time. But and that was a long time ago. Last time I went was like 2010. That there wasn't any Wi-Fi anyways back then, so I couldn't have gone on my phone. Yeah, I was like a teen, and what did I do? I didn't do anything. I just looked out the window. That's all I did, and then I fell asleep.
Oh yeah, yeah. I cannot really sleep during these kind of rides because I don't know. I always pay attention to the road and what is happening, and I feel bad sleeping when the driver is supposed to be very much awake, and I feel like I have to talk to the driver all the time to keep them awake, and focus. Because when you are driving and you have like three passengers and all of them are sleeping, then you get sleepy as well. So I
Oh,
feel like I
that's
have a
true.
duty to not let the driver fall asleep.
Yeah, that's true. So we did talk about what we want to achieve with the podcast next year. It's the reviews, right? I think we should also do more character comparisons, especially for characters that we haven't really talked about or shown in our works yet, such as the Sons of Disobedience characters and the Outlaws characters.
Oh yes, exactly. When we've done our little crossovers, we never talked about the Outlaws characters or the ones from Valdez's story. And
Merwin.
Merwin, exactly. And also, there are some less important characters from Sons of Disobedience that I've talked very, very little, although they do play an important part. But one of them is going to be Asphalt, that we are going to talk about in January because he's the protagonist of the new story that I've started posting on Tapas this weekend, The Slave and the Trolls. So this is the next story in my series Tales from the North. And it is an older story that I have edited recently and that I'm illustrating. So yeah, we can introduce one more characters into our comparison.
And we were also thinking of doing more crossovers, right? Because they're so fun.
Oh yes, I know. I know that. And I didn't think that I could do crossovers, but then after we did the one for Christmas, there was there were so many things that we hadn't talked about, and we hadn't tried to, I don't know, maybe role play a bit, or not really role play, but imagine what exactly they would be saying to each other. So after we finished it, I was thinking, why didn't I say this? Why didn't I bring this up? This would have been so fun. So yeah, we definitely have to do another crossover. Maybe we can do one for a Valentine's Day party between our characters.
Yes, yes. We were talking about Reinvig and Frankie, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, and well, Rantek and everyone pretty much, because we said it was her party, but we didn't really discuss how she would interact with Sam, Frankie, and Joel, and it would have been fun.
You're right. We just talked about Ingvar and Arne. That
Well,
was the main focus.
I know. I mean, that was a really saucy combination of characters, and one that was quite spontaneous. We had just thought about it like the day before, so that was too tempting to talk about them.
Yeah, we haven't really talked that much about Reinvig. We should talk more
I
about
know.
her and Lena as well, because they're both like extroverted women who like parties.
Exactly. Yeah, they're going to throw another party. They already had one, but maybe Lina is going to host a Valentine's Day party, and Ran
Oh, good
will be
idea.
her friend
Yes.
in your setting, and then we'll get to
Yes.
see how our characters would interact, because we've talked about your characters in my setting, but not the other way around.
Exactly. Yeah. So we need to do that as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one other thing that I would very much like for us to achieve with the podcast is interviewing more creators. And we already have in mind really awesome people that we would like to discuss with during the podcast. So I hope that we will be able to do that in the near future and hear more perspectives and discuss more types of writing and more types of characters and so on.
hmm Definitely. I was thinking that once we get more viewers, maybe we can like directly approach Tapas and say, "Hey, we have a podcast. Does anyone want to be interviewed on here?"
Yes, I know. I know. Yeah, that would be fantastic. I mean, we can we can do that like right
Yeah.
now too.
Yeah, we could try to do that. Like in January, we can send them an email asking them, does any of the, the originals creators or, those people who are premium want to be interviewed?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes.
That could
Yeah.
be very interesting. And I guess on Instagram and stuff, we can directly approach more people and ask them if they want to be on our show.
I know, because we have only approached a few people, but there are so many great writers, authors that we haven't really asked directly. So this is one of the plans that we have in order to expand the work that we have been doing with the podcast.
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, and also, you started a very interesting thing that I was very, very fond of, the audiobook. You did a reading of Tete de Punk's story of Senka, and it was delightful. I really love audiobooks. And I hope that you are going to do some more. Are you going to do more readings?
Yes, I will. So once Tete finishes the whole story, which she is around maybe 75% done, I will read the whole thing. And maybe I will only post like 10 minutes of it for free, and the rest of it is on a Patreon.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I might do more for Sam in New York, but I think I'll do it for the anthology. What do you think? The
Yeah,
anthology that's being released next year that you guys helped to unlock during Thanksgiving. I might do a reading of each of the stories in the anthology.
exactly. Yeah, that would be a great idea.
hmm
Because what is the format that you are going to use for the anthology?
It's going to be similar to what you've been using for Tales of the North, and it's made in Canva once again. And basically, it's basically just like, the text itself, and then there's going to be like drawings, and then also depending on the theme and what I want the story to look like. For example, if it's a darker story, the background's going to be black, or if it's like something that's more like nostalgic, there's going to be a lot of black and white photos and like old paper textures.
That's a great idea.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm really fond of the idea. And because there is more text, the audiobook idea would also fit it wonderfully.
Exactly. And I hope that more people will be interested in it. It's another look into Sam's universe because the anthology presents us with different viewpoints of different characters.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, when
Exactly.
do you think you are going to start publishing it?
Maybe next February or March. So in 2021. But I don't think in January because I'm going to be focusing on making more stuff for the buffer.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good and a very considerate plan.
Yeah. And I don't want people to be overwhelmed because I know that right now, I think well, I guess not overwhelmed, but I want to have a larger buffer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I should learn from that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a procrastinator, so I have not managed to do that as of yet.
I'm going to have to write more stories too because I've kind of paused writing for this month because I've been working so much on the Sam New York buffer for like drawing and stuff for the actual Sam New York series that I haven't really written anything other than like a couple of scraps about Joel, but that was like helping me to brainstorm for his stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I do have one more goal that I don't think I discussed yet. So just a reminder before I post this in the new year or the day before New Year's is that on Tapas for 2021 at 50,000 ink, the Book of Joel will be released, and at 100,000 ink, what is it called? Sam's Guide to Cold Calling will be released. As we discussed at the beginning of this podcast episode, we will finally learn how and why Sam is the way he is when he cold calls people.
this is fantastic. Then this is really creative and immersive because it will give a lot of insight into Sam's story, and I imagine it will have humorous moments as well. And it's really fun to see the world through Sam's eyes. And well, even when he is wearing a mask, or especially to see him putting up an act. So it'll be really interesting.
I think I finally discovered as we were talking what kind of format it will be. It will be a mixture of like comic, just like Sam in New York, and flow charts because Sam's mind is like a flow chart. This is what you do to get this result. Or if this happens, this is another thing that could happen. So it looks like an infograph. Because I saw
Oh,
those infographs on Canva. I'm like, maybe that's what we're gonna see in Sam's guide to cold calling.
that is such a great idea. I had not imagined it, but this is so interesting and so surprising. I love it.
Yeah, because I'm gonna just make use of everything that's on Canva.
This is a really original idea. I love it.
So it's perfect for an audiobook, right? Because some of it can't really it's not really text per se. So when I read it out loud, it's going to be a bit different, and then you're going to see the image. So it's going to be interesting.
Exactly, exactly. Wow, I love it already. I cannot wait to see it.
And then the Book of Joel is, I think, mostly a graphic novel, but there might be some moments that are kind of like the anthology, like, short story with a tiny illustration at the end. So basically, kind of just random short stories from Joel's life, about his own complexes, his relationship with his parents, and his view on life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I cannot wait to see these things.
Yeah, and one more thing. I did talk to you about how there might be an art book released next year, which is going to have a lot of essays, not only by me, but I think from all of you as well, because I might hold a writing contest where you guys get to write about themes in Sam in New York and what kind of themes you thought of when reading Sam in New York.
That is amazing. I'm so fond of the idea. And what you told me before about the layout and the themes that you're going to approach, I really like the idea
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
you already have so many illustrations, and we've seen a bit about the themes, and it will be very interesting to see those written in such an organized and well thought out manner as as you've described.
Mm-hmm. And we're also going to feature all the artwork and commissions that everyone else has done of my characters and Sam in New York as well.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's a great
exactly.
idea.
Yeah. So it's like a huge shout out to everyone who has supported me.
Oh, that's awesome. So when do you think this is going to happen? Are you going to announce the art book soon, or are you planning to release it this year, or just announce it this year and do it later? What do you think?
I'm not really sure. Like maybe I'll announce it in January or February, but it's not going to actually come out until later in 2021, I think, because I still need to hold the contest for more essays to be submitted, right? And then I also want to amass more essays that I've written because I haven't written any. Like, I know what I'm going to write, but I actually haven't started writing them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it will take a lot of time.
It will, yeah. And mostly it's kind of more like a textbook. It's not really heavy or anything, but it's like Sam and the Lower East Side. So I will have to like put footnotes and stuff about the Lower East Side's history and where I got the inspiration to set the story in the Lower East Side and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really a wonderful idea.
Hmm. Yeah, we both have such cool goals for 2021. I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I also hope to achieve some things that I haven't done before, like publish something physically, or at least in a medium that I cannot go back to change. Because as you know, and as I've mentioned before, I'm that kind of writer who is obsessed with endlessly editing and being able to come back to things when I think about when I come up with something better. And sometimes it's just a synonym of a word, but it really bugs me. And this is one reason why I haven't really published it, any of my stories in a permanent medium, so to speak. So I'm really hoping to take this step this year. So
Mm.
we will see. We will see. I used to have this idea that I would publish a book with three novellas, which would be Merwin, Lucky Wolf, and the Valdez story. And well, Merwin and Lucky Wolf are pretty much finished. I do want to go back to Merwin and edit certain things because I wrote it a very long time ago. I think it was in 2015. So yeah, I could definitely, because the characters have developed a lot since, and I've done more world building. So yes, I have new stuff to
Hmm.
add. But Valdez story is in the making, so I could do that. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Or maybe they are already so huge that I cannot put all of them in just one book because it would be up like 400 pages. I don't know. We're going to see. But yes, I'm planning to do something in the way of publishing this year.
I can't wait. It's going to be so exciting.
Yes, yes, it.
Yes, yes. So thank you so much for this episode and best of luck for 2021, everyone.
Thank you so much, and the best of luck to you as well, and lots of inspiration.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, goodbye.